Alright, let's take a look at the next problem in our work set. Here I've got the Canvas quiz with the actual problem definition, and it wants us to find the mass properties, or use the mass properties tool to find the surface area of the part in square inches. And we've got a image of a door handle here with a kind of square rounded peg that attaches to the mechanism inside the door. Let's start by making a new part. We are in inches, so you need to confirm that you're in the inch/pound/second unit system, which I am. And I can go ahead and start planning out how I want to make this part. I've got a cylindrical base with a rounded hole, kind of rounded edge square hole coming into it. I've got a, looks like almost like a trapezoidal extrusion on the handle base, and then I've got kind of a longer, thinner extrusion for the handle itself. I've got some dimensions here as to what the thicknesses of those different features are. I've also noticed I've got kind of a taper for some of these, and so I'll have to think about how I want to put those in as I am working on the part. So I'm going to start off with just the cylindrical base of this. I'm going to go to the front plane, and I'm going to sketch this view here for the rounded portion. Again, I'm going to try and keep my sketches as simple as possible, so I'm going to start with just a cylinder. And that's going to have a radius of 1 inch, or sorry, a diameter of 1 inch. I can see that on the drawing right here. And I'm going to go ahead and extrude that to a height of 2 inches. And then I'm going to make a cut extrude on the base of this to cut out that square hole. So let's sketch on that face. And I'm going to use a center point rectangle to draw a square hole that is 0.25 by 0.25. I'll specify the width of that and the height of it. That looks good. Let's go ahead and extrude that, or cut extrude that to a depth of 1 inch. So change this to blind and do 1 inch. And I can see the depth of that hole in this view right here. And then it also has fillets on the edge that are R.05, so I'm going to add those as well. Specify the radius of the fillet, and then click the 4 corners of the hole. I can tell this is only going on the sides of this hole because if I look at the top view, there's no rounds in those hidden lines. And again, if I want to compare that to the hidden line view of my part, I can go into that view and then go back into a plane where you can see them. And I can see that that looks kind of like what I have there. So I'm pretty happy with that. The next thing I'd like to do is I'd like to draw this kind of trapezoidal portion. And again, since I have dimensions here that look like they go to the edges prior to the round, I'm going to extrude that and then round it out. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to go back to the front plane. Sketch on the front plane. And I'm going to draw the trapezoid for kind of this inner section piece, and then I'll do the trapezoid for the outer section piece. So let's draw that using just the line tool. Have that come down and across. Kind of same thing there. And then close it off at the top. I'm going to assume that these edges are tangent, just because I don't have a dimension for how far back that goes, and so I need to have some kind of tangency there to determine how wide this is going to be at the intersection. I actually didn't get that tangent relation. There we go, so that gives the tangent there, and tangent there. I know that this is going to have a horizontal length from the center of this circle out to the end of the part of 0.95. You can see that dimension right here on the drawing. And then the width of this tab at the end is 0.2. And since that's still kind of not fully defined, I'm probably going to make this vertical just to constrain it. And that's going to make this thing centered as well. So I could use the vertical there, or I could make some kind of midpoint horizontal relation, or anything else that kind of centers that and keeps it defined on an orientation basis. Go ahead and extrude that out. This is going to extrude to a height of 1.05 off the top of that first piece. So I probably actually should have done that first piece first. So actually, let's go to this. I'm going to accept that but I'm going to roll back to before I had that first beam, since I actually want this 1.5 to go up off of this 0.02. So I'm going to pretend I didn't do that by using the rollback bar to kind of come back to before that feature existed. And then I'm going to insert the top portion geometry first in the model. So again, same basic way of drawing this proportion, just comes out a little bit further. Oh, I didn't actually want that perpendicular relation, so I'll go ahead and I'll remove that in a second. So I'm going to remove this perpendicular, I don't want that. I want to keep this vertical like I did in the last one. Add the tangent relations to the top and the bottom. I want this one to also be vertical. And then I have a distance here of 3.5. Again, that's going to the origin, the kind of the center of my part, not to the edge of this trapezoid. It's got 3.5, and then the width of this is 0.6, so 0.6. That looks pretty good. With that defined, I'm going to go ahead and extrude this out to a depth of 0.2. So 0.2. I'll accept that. And then I'm going to roll forward again from my extrude 2. And then I'm going to edit that feature. And instead of having going blind, I'm going to do offset from surface. Click on this top face. And I'm going to have it do 1.05. And we need to reverse the offset. No, actually that looks okay. And again, if I want to verify that that was going in the right direction, I can always evaluate, measure, and then check the length of this line. You can see that that is the 1.05 inches that I wanted for that offset. So that looks pretty good there. The last thing I want to do here is I need to make the little kind of flat end piece for this. And if I look carefully at the drawing for this part, I can see that this is actually at an angle and it's thicker at the top than it is at the bottom. And we've got this 130-degree angle coming across the base portion. So I think the easiest way to draw this is to probably extrude it off of the end in the top plane that's being shown on this view here. So let's go ahead and try doing that. So let's sketch on the top plane. I'm going to draw a line that goes from this corner out to the end. I don't know if I want that perpendicular or not. Come back up to the top. And I want this one to have a length of 0.1. So I'm going to make this length 0.1. I want to specify the angle, so I'm going to click on this line and this line to get the angle of 30 degrees. Oh, not 13, 30, or 130, sorry. And then this length on the top is 1.3. So I'm trying to make sure I have all the dimensions kind of as they're defined inside here. And it looks like I need at least one more relation to kind of finish this off. So maybe I do need to have some perpendicular relationship between one of these lines and this top line. Trying to figure out which of those would be most appropriate. Probably the top line would be good. And that's going to keep that set. That looks pretty close. I'm going to add the rounds to this after I extrude it. So I'm going to features, extrude boss base. This has a width of 0.6. So you reverse it. Oh, looks like I didn't draw the line to close the top of this in my sketch. So I'm missing this line right here. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to close off this line by adding that last piece there. There you go. Now we have this line, which is what I was missing. And I can actually use this for my extrude. So extrude, try again, we do a mid plane of 0.6, and that should come up to the edges of what I had previously, because that's the same width that I used on the previous extrude for this feature here. And that looks pretty good. And now I need to add some more rounds, so this has a bunch of R05 fillets on it. So let's go ahead and see if we can just apply that to some of these faces. Doesn't want to let me apply to that face. Sometimes the order that you do the fillets is very important. So I'm going to try rounding these corners first. So that way I have a continuous face on the base of these parts. Make sure let me do those ones. I'll accept that. And now I'm going to try and round the other corners. Yeah, that looks pretty good. So actually that'll tangent propagate all the way around the edges there. It didn't tangent propagate down the edge on that. I'm going to edit this one and see if I have that off. No, I've got tangent propagation on. So it should go all the way around that edge. Go ahead and click on the other face and try and get it to force that round throughout the whole part. That looks pretty good. It looks like there's not any kind of rounding here, but these faces are almost the same. Again, I can go normal to my front plane. And I can compare, or sorry, my top plane. And I can compare what I have in mind versus what's given in the sketch. That looks good. That looks good. Again, I've got a rounded corner here and then a little bit of a gap and then another one. So it looks pretty consistent with what I have inside the sketch there. It looks like I need to have rounds on the base of this as well as this front face. So I'm going to fillet that face there. It looks like the base of this, like right here on the sides, isn't actually rounded out. So that may be the last one that I need to do. So that looks good. Let's go back to the shaded view. Kind of compare what I have here. So the top is rounded, the bottom face is rounded, and this union right here is rounded. This edge is not rounded, and this edge is not rounded. So that looks pretty consistent with what I have in the drawings given to me. Let's try that. I'm going to evaluate mass properties, and I get a surface area of 16.69 inches, square inches. And that's what it's looking for, surface area of the part in square inches. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not actually taking this quiz. Well, let me go and I can just do edit and we can see if that's the right answer. So it says 16.7, so if I round it up to 1 decimal place, that would be correct. So I did get the correct answer on this problem. Hopefully that's clear. If you have questions, please feel free to let me know.